Welcome to Write Now Workshop Podcast, where you can write a book and change the world. I'm your host, Kitty Bucholtz, and this is episode 256, Good Plans for Your Life, an encouraging words episode coming to you on Sunday, July 4th, 2021. So first of all, if you're in the US or if you're an American somewhere who is celebrating Happy Independence Day, or as everyone I know who usually says it, Happy 4th of July. Hopefully you are doing something fun and being safe and just having a nice, relaxing weekend. If you happen to be in the Traverse City, Michigan area, a happy National Cherry Festival. I wish I were there. And I know if you live in Traverse City or that area, you're like, no, you really don't. Yes, I really do. I'm one of the weird people who would definitely not be renting out my house in order to leave town to get away from the tourists, because I just really, really like National Cherry Festival. I know it's going to be pretty different with pandemic rules, and but I've been getting all the emails and it still looks like it's going to be tons of fun. So have fun without me. And wherever you are, eat something yummy and picnicky for me. It's fun living in another country. You do things differently. You celebrate other holidays and you eat different foods. So for midsummer, I had some herring stuff. I'm not really sure. Whatever it is, it's that traditional fish thing that is herring. And we had some with the mustard sauce, which actually John and I kind of sort of like. And we also tried some that was in a ginger sauce that we ate. But I was like, no, thank you. I do not need a second spoonful. And I had very small spoonfuls on my plate. And then we also had Bucholtz pie, which basically is quiche. And I don't know why exactly. This particular kind of cheese is very well, what I'm told is that like it's the way that you make this particular quiche, and quiche is called pie, and fruit pie is called pie, and any other kind of thing that's in a round shape apparently is called pie. So I'm always like, well, how do we know if we're talking about a meat pie? Like when I was in Australia, that was what people meant by pie. Or a quiche, so that would be like a cheese and egg pie, or strawberry pie. I was like, I still don't understand, but it's really fun. So wherever you are in the world and whatever you're eating, I hope that it's yummy and you're enjoying it. And that is kind of leading me into the encouraging words portion. So I have to admit to being a little frustrated the last several months, really. I know that we've had a really rough year and a half or so, and that only includes things having to do with the pandemic, not even other parts of our lives that would have been rough regardless of the pandemic. But it just seems to me that this is just my one person's opinion. It just seems like almost every sermon that I've heard and almost every person leading the prayer at church or whatever, it's all kind of focused on a more negative aspect, like hang in there, you'll be okay, and that sort of thing. And I'm like, I don't have anything to hang in there about. Like, I already am okay. I'm doing great. But nobody in my little realm of the world, I haven't been listening to anybody. That's what I'm trying to say. People I've been listening to happen to be coming from that perspective. I know they're trying to be incredibly encouraging to people who are having hard times. And lots of people are, people out of work, people out of money, people struggling to balance work and homeschooling and other kinds of schooling things, which obviously I couldn't really possibly understand since I don't have kids. But I just wanted just once someone to say, is life good? Yay, celebrate it, be grateful, like really focus on it. So I thought, well, I can't find it, so I'll create it. That's what writers do, right? We write stories that we really want to read. So I'm giving you the podcast episode that I really want to hear. Is life going well? Awesome. I am so happy for you. What about it is going well? Like when you start listing all the things, Oh my gosh, I just have a lot of wonderful things going on. The weather is pretty darn close to kitty perfect, which means that it's not too hot. We were desperate for rain. And so I started praying for rain, and then we started getting rain, which is great. Well, now it's super duper muggy and humid, and bleh, my hair is like all frizzy, and my apartment just smells like musty, but I don't really care because we really, really needed the rain. And now won't have to worry about, the fields not producing vegetables, and the prices going up in the store in the fall, right? Anyway, I also super duper love my apartment. I love my work. I love working with other authors. I love writing my own books and stories. I love my husband and my family and my friends. And like, I could just keep on going. Not even just like the big things, like little things. Like we've been eating really interesting food, despite eating fantastic and delicious food. I'm losing weight, which is what I wanted to do because I started running again, which is something I wanted to do. So I'm really grateful that I got myself out there and finally started getting ready for the half marathon that's coming up in a couple of months. So as I'm talking, like, what are the things come into your mind where you're like, oh yeah, I'm happy with this part of my life and I'm grateful for that part of my life. I happen to be very, very healthy, which makes me happy. While the humidity is making my hair quite frizzy, I still love that I live in general in weather that makes my curly hair really curly because I love my hair when it's super curly. So I have a lot of like big things and little things. I just read a great book that I loved so much, and I'm totally going to hound the author until she comes on my show. I'm talking to you, Sonali Dove. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but I loved A Bollywood Affair, and I totally want to talk to you about your books because they are awesome. So what books have you been reading that you're just like, that book was so good and I just really needed and wanted a really good book right now? There are so many things that are going well in life. And even if you are like, my one friend was just feeling just a little sick, like she didn't have COVID or anything. She just was feeling sick for a day. But she got a little spoiled by her spouse, and she was able to read more than usual and watch a little bit of TV that she normally would have to wait till the weekend for. So I have to say, those are things that I kind of enjoy. If I'm going to have a sick day, I like the idea that I'll be able to do a couple of fun things that I usually don't get to do in the middle of the week. Um, there are so many things. Now, obviously, we all have different personalities. And so I guess I'm talking to people like me who are like, why is everybody so focused on the negative all the time? Like, tell me about the positive things going on. So that's what I wanted to do. So I decided that yeah, that's my focus. That's my focus. Now, if life is not going well for you, I totally empathize. I've had whole years of life truly sucking. But one of the things that does help you get through every day when life isn't going well is to try to focus on some of the things you're grateful for. Because as we know, regardless of whether or not it's annoying to have people, shove it down our throats when we're not interested in it, gratitude does a huge amount to help our attitudes to be better. And attitude is basically just where are we focused? So are we focused on more upward things, more positive things, or more downward things, more negative things? Because I think the attitude really is more of a spiral. It's not like a road or a place. It keeps on going more in the direction that you're focusing. So I want to encourage you to keep on focusing on all the positive things going on in your life. And if you've been listening to me for very long at all, you know that I'm huge on celebrating things, celebrating the wins, just finding ways to give yourself a pat on the back for something, which for me, a lot of times is like, ooh, I just finished this chapter and I'm feeling really good about myself. So I'm going to go have some chocolate covered nuts. Or I just finished the rebranding of this book. So I'm going to go buy that rose bush that I saw in the flower shop the other day and figure out, how do I repot a rose bush and put it outside on my balcony, which the lady said I could, but I don't really know how to do it. So I'm going to learn something new too. That'll be great. Like, what sorts of things do you have in your life that you're like, I just want to celebrate this? A lot of people right now, you're celebrating having a long weekend, or you're actually celebrating the independence of the country that you're living in. You might be celebrating. Oh my gosh, I've heard so many people are doing family reunions this year because they actually can move around a little bit, and you get to actually see your family again. So for the most part, that's definitely a reason to celebrate. Sure, there might be moments that you're like, I hate this part. I hate waiting in airports. I mean, I try to make it not horrible. I have a book, make sure I have some water, try to have some music or an audio book as well, in case I get bored of the one thing, I can do something else. But waiting in airports in between flights is one of my least favorite things. Only eclipsed by sitting in between two ginormous men in the middle seat of the plane. I would rather actually be waiting for hours in an airport than sitting in that seat, which I have sat in before for, what was it, a 10-hour flight? Oh, it was really tough. But even in those situations, you can always think of something that you're grateful for, something to take your mind off things. And you realize that overall, there are way more positive things to be grateful for in life than negative things. And eventually you can find ways that you can be grateful, not really for the negative thing, but for the effect of the negative thing that turned positive. So yeah, this is the way that I think. I hope it's not irritating you. This is just the kiddie way of thinking. It's just the kiddie way of living. And so I wanted to share it with you in case you also were just tired of the negatives. So, try to remember the spiral part, because I think that's really good. Wherever you're focusing, you're going to have more and more of those thoughts and feelings. So if you're focusing on, I suck, I don't know when I'm ever going to finish this book, how will I ever lose weight if I keep on eating bags of M&Ms to try to get through finishing this book? I mean, that's a refrain I've heard lots of times from lots of writers. Then you just need to find some other way of looking at it. Like you could even just be like, well, thank goodness I've got some M&Ms to see me through. And then later I will eat more celery. Or thank goodness I'm at least this close to the end and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's another way of being grateful. Now, you know that I read the Bible and get a lot of wisdom and just direction and things that just make me think differently, feel better, usually feel like I understand a little bit more about how to see my life in the big picture. So there's a verse that I hear lots of people, saying out loud all the time, from Jeremiah, which is one of the prophets, in chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And that's a great verse. And I memorized it a long time ago. But over time, I started going back and reading more of the verses around it. So I could again, I wanted to see the big picture. And I have to say, it kind of reminds me of when I was a kid all the way up through 18. If I did something to get in trouble and my mom grounded me to my room, that's what this sort of reminds me of, because this is about when Israel was exiled to Babylon. And the verse before that wonderful verse that people like to say is, this is what the Lord says, when 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my gracious promise to bring you back to this place. And I always look at that as being, yep, there is some punishment for the wrong that you did, but the punishment will end. And then, we move into, because I have good plans for you. I don't want you to have a terrible life. I want you to have a good life. And I already have ideas for how you can have a good life. But then also the verse after is a really good one too, because after it says that I have plans to give you hope and a future, it says, then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. And then that always kind of changes my attitude too. It makes me think, okay, so God has plans for me. He wants me to interact with him, to make these plans into reality. He wants my life to be good. He has ideas for how it could be even better. And that just makes me happy. That just makes me feel like I am not in this alone. And since we are, can you believe it, halfway through a year, sometimes I have a tendency around this time to go, my gosh, it's halfway through the year. I haven't accomplished anything that I wanted to do, which is not true. I just usually have a much longer list of things that I would like to accomplish than can actually be done in a short period of time. But when I read stuff like this, I'm like, okay, God has good plans for me. He wants me to talk to him about it. And then we will have a conversation. That's what I do. I talk to God all the time. You probably already know that. And we'll like find a way to make things happen, and it will be positive and good. So probably I just created the encouraging words episode that I just wanted to listen to. But I do hope that you found some encouragement in it for you. Maybe a lot, maybe just a little bit, because you know that what I really want to do is to make you feel more peppy, more upbeat, more like, okay, yep, life is good, life is good. Maybe this moment isn't as good, or maybe last week sucked, but it's the beginning of a new week and a new month. So this could be like a great new beginning. Those are the things that I want to leave you with. I hope that you have a fantastic weekend, a fantastic summer or winter, depending on where you are, and that you are finding fantastic, wonderful books to read that just make you think, I love reading and I love books. And by the way, now I just feel like even more inspired to get back to my writing again. That's how I always feel when I finish a really great book. And yeah, get some writing done and have a fantastic week. Remember, this is the beginning of our three-week hiatus, because now we're in seasons. So season 3 will start the last Thursday of July. I believe it's July 28th. I didn't write that down, but the last Thursday of July, we'll start with season 3. So have a great month, and we will talk again then.